So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneurs Forum podcast from School of Business, MIT World Peace University. I am your host Swarup Bibwe, and today we have a very special guest with us. Whose introduction feels like reading a Wikipedia page. He is an IIT engineer, corporate leader, entrepreneur, writer, painter, traveler. And I was almost waiting to see a part-time astronaut in that list. But jokes apart, he is someone who has done it all, from working with giants like Tata Motors and Philips to designing the future of education with the Bodhi Tree. Please welcome Mr. Omkar Todkar. Omkar sir, we are pleased to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I'm pleased to be here and looking forward to talking with you on multiple subjects.
Thank you, sir. Before we get into the main discussion about entrepreneurship and about education, I just wanted to ask you a quick question about the roles that I've just mentioned and that you have had, like the entrepreneur, engineer, teacher, writer, painter, traveler. Which one would you say best describes you today?
So I think if you go to my Wikipedia page, if you go to my LinkedIn page, so there are a lot of descriptions that I have written, right? So, but the best way I would say that I have a lot of interest and I keep doing a lot of things. But at the core, I would say that I'm a perpetual student.
Oh,
Okay, so that's the best way to define it. And because I think that I'm a perpetual student, so I keep exploring all these different things and different activities. I keep doing all these activities like painting, writing, entrepreneurship, and all those things because I'm curious about each and every subject. And that's the heart of who I am currently, and that's why I said perpetual student. And I don't mean that I keep getting more degrees in that sense,
yes.
perpetual student, but student in the sense that I'm always curious about something. So even after 10 years, I'm still reading everything about AI. I'm still learning about AI daily. And yeah, that's what students do basically, right? So if you have an interest, if you are curious about something, you go and explore your interests. And yes, so I think it's an exciting time. We live in the age of AI now, and there are a lot of things to explore. And that's why I see that being a student helps, apart from all the other titles. So I would say that I'm a perpetual student.
That sounds great, sir. So let's dive into your journey now. You have had such an impressive career in the corporate world, and then you made this big shift into entrepreneurship with the Bodhi Tree.
Yeah.
What was the turning point when you decided that it's time to build something of your own?
Okay. So to be frank, there are two things that I would like to discuss. First is like you guys are, you will be getting out of college in a year or so, right? So when I got out of college, right, so I completed my degrees in 2015, and a lot of my friends went for PhD, second masters in the US. But I wanted to experience the real world, how things work in real world, because for 5 years I studied a lot of theories in college, right? And then I wanted to get out and see how these big companies work, how they make these great products, right? So that's why I started with Tata Motors because I'm from Pune and I like Pune. So I was very excited to be back in Pune, in fact, and so I joined Tata Motors, and Harrier was one of my first projects that I worked on, and I got a flavor of how these big companies work, how they create products, what processes are there, and how do we make sure that we create products which customers like, which has quality, which delivers what it promises.
Yes.
Right? So, and it's a big process. It's not as simple as creating a prototype, because when you work for Tata Motors, you are creating, let's say, 2 lakh vehicles per month, right? So that's the kind of scale that you work with, and I wanted to work on that scale in a company. So that's why I joined Tata Motors, and then later on I wanted to explore some other fields. So I went to Philips to explore the world of healthcare. And Philips it's a Dutch company, so you also get to see different cultures, right? So Tata has a slightly Indian culture, I would say, and Philips, because they have Dutch origin, right? So they have a different culture, European culture. So you get to explore all these cultures across the world, how different companies work, what are the differences, what are the ways in which they differ from each other. Right. So I got all that knowledge throughout 10 years. And at one point I thought, okay, I have learned everything that I could. Right. So because I was never, a lot of my friends, they were doing startups right from the start, but I always thought that I need to explore this. I'm interested in this. I want to know how things work. And that's why I kept working and getting more exposure. But a point came where I thought I have learned enough. And I had always been interested in education, and the funny story is, you might have that senior, right, who studies up to 2 o'clock, and then he teaches everyone, right?
Yes.
And you guys just sit around and you'll be like, okay, you study and you tell us later, right? So I was that guy in my college, right? So I used to study till 3 o'clock at night, and then everybody used to gather after 3 o'clock, and then they used
Ask
to be
for
like,
help.
okay, now teach me whatever you have studied till. And so I always had inclination towards, I would say, teaching. And even throughout my corporate career, I gave a lot of lectures, I gave a lot of talks on different topics. So I always had that edge a proclivity towards teaching, I would say. And when the AI came, right, so I could see that these two interests could be combined together. So, because earlier it was very difficult. If you have an idea, you can give a talk,
Yes.
right? But you can't, it can't reach masses. And it happened with digital revolution that at least we had online courses on phones. But it was not up to a level that if you want to create 20 courses, you need 20 teachers, right? So I always thought that education was very selective. It was very localized. And although digital revolution helped democratize it, it has not reached its full potential, right? So because we use online courses for things that, maybe most of the online courses that you see are about the competitive exams, right? So we also deal with that. But apart from that, looking at the future, what AI is going to do, right?
Yes.
Nobody is sure what the future is going to look like. Nobody's absolutely sure. We can have our guesses. But I can tell you one thing for sure, that AI technology, it basically enabled me to combine these two ideas, and I could see a potential in that. So basically, I found a problem that I actually like, and I can actually do something about it because AI enabled us to, think in that term. And that was one reason that I found a problem that I really like.
Yes.
And now there's a solution, right? So earlier it was a lot of hassle, and you see, but now with AI it has become very easy. If you have a creative idea, if you have something in your mind, now is the time to explore that idea, right? And we felt that, okay, we have all the background, we have all the technical expertise from how these big companies work, and we also know about education. So let's combine these two things and make it more, or enhance it apart, because we already have online education.
Yes.
But I would say that it is still lacking some of the things which are required for future. And that's where we started working on, I would say, the Bodhi Tree 2.0. So currently what we have is, we call it the Bodhi Tree 1.0.
Oh.
So that's where we have a normal mode where we have courses and stuff. But we are moving into AI now, that is TBT 2.0, and that's what we are working on. So that's one thing. And second thing, I would say that it's about culture, because the culture is shifting now. Now a lot of managers are saying that it's very hard to work with Gen Zs, right? So that's one of the apprehensions which is floating around in the corporate, right? And I disagree with that, because I had a lot of interns who were Gen Zs, right? And I think some of the examples are in your college also. So I always felt that young generation is creative, but we put a lot of rules and regulations and restrictions on them in order to yeah. So that was the old model how the companies worked. If you go to Tata Motors now, even they work on the old model. So companies are trying to shift to the new model to cater to the new generation, right? But that change is not very quick. You can't see that now. It will happen within next few years, but you don't see it now. So the culture is still the old culture, and I wanted to get out of that culture and start a new culture where, we focus on creativity rather than restrictions.
Oh.
Okay, so for example, flexible timings, you have your own projects, you can do your own stuff, you have 50% of the time for creativity and stuff like that. So we don't want to micromanage, because the core belief that we have is creativity doesn't come from, putting a lot of restrictions on you, right? So because you are confined in a box, you can't be creative after that. So creativity usually comes when you feel free.
Yes.
Right, so that's what we are trying to bring. So we just started an internship program it's called TAP, and that's where we are trying to bring in all these philosophies into the culture also. So I felt that the current culture that you see in a lot of corporates is not suited for the future.
Definitely.
So these two reasons, so this was one reason, and I had a problem that I could work on. So I just thought, okay, now it's time to do something on our own.
Yes. As you said, creativity, giving freedom to the student.
Yeah.
It might also boost the productivity as well, right?
Definitely, and I would say the way we work, right? So basically, I have a lot of friends, IIT Madras friends, and who are, let's say, for example, they are in OpenAI team. One of my best friends, he worked on Llama 3, which is the Google's AI model,
Yes.
right? So these guys, they don't work. I would say there are two things. We call it Gada Majduri versus, or let's say, smart thinking. So we still have a lot of jobs where people do gada majduri and stuff like that, but now with AI those jobs are going to be replaced for sure, because and the jobs which require creativity, and I don't mean creativity in a sense that you need to paint and stuff, that is one form of creativity.
Yes.
But even in corporate world, people are looking for creative people to solve problems in creative ways,
Yes.
because that's the skill that everybody is looking at, rather than you know the old model, which, okay, this is the fixed process, you have to work like that, this is what you need to do. Okay, that was done, but now you can give those instructions to AI,
Yeah.
right? And it will do the job for you. So what are you supposed to do? And that's an interesting topic, we'll talk on that. But again, so we are thinking in that direction, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that your skills are invalid now, so you may need a different set of skills on top of that,
Yes.
right? For future, but that shift is, I couldn't see that shift anywhere, and I don't believe in putting a lot of restrictions and doing gada majduri, so called, because right now what happens, if you even one creative idea, I believe that, so for example, these three guys started coding whatever you see GPT-5. So it started with two engineers in Google, right? So they grabbed those two engineers and they started working on it,
Yes.
on the neural networks and stuff. So those two guys created the entire thing, and it's a $1 billion company now, right? So I believe that mass is not required. Even one guy is creative, that is enough. He can create a lot of value, at least in today's world. Earlier, we needed a lot of people for operations, stuff like that. But now we can automate all those things. So even in our company, so we are definitely working on AI and educational products. But apart from that, our own workflows are automated.
Yes.
So we are automating our own workflows also, the way we work.
Oh.
And that's where I feel that the cultural shift has to happen for tomorrow.
Yes. You explained it very clearly and very deeply.
Thank you.
But I want to ask a little deeper question. That what were the challenges or difficulties that you faced during the shift while making this shift, starting the new thing, the
Okay,
Bodhi Tree?
okay. Yeah, so one of the big things I would say is, so when I talked about TBT 1.2 and 2.2, right? So we had to make that shift from 1.2 to 2.2. And one thing that I would say I had to do was, because when you work on big companies, in big companies, you have these different teams, right? So for example, HR will take care of the policy stuff, and then marketing guys will take care of the marketing stuff, and you R&D team will take care of R&D stuff. So they have these boxes, right? But when you get out there, you have to think of everything,
Oh.
right? So, and how these things, you can tie these things together and create something, create a good organization which follows everything, right? Because one of the things, and a lot of my friends have been doing startups, and if you see for last 10 years, a lot of startups tanked. And one of the big examples that I usually give is Byju's, right? Because during these revolutions, so we have had these revolutions, industrial revolution, digital revolution, and now we have AI revolution, I would say. So in digital revolution, I think Baiju, what they did is they cracked the digital revolution, because they came up with an app, right? So the app could reach millions of people, because we already had digitization in India, right?
Yes.
Everybody had phones, internet access. So they did that, right? So when Baiju came up with this, I would say, digital revolution, and they sort of placed their product in that digital revolution, that was something I would say really great. But if you see what happened afterwards, right? So, and I really like the product, the way Baiju, they had these screens where you could, teach on in neon signs and stuff. So they had a beautiful setup. They had really good teachers, and a lot of my friends from IIT Madras were working for Baiju's at the time. But the reason I think that if you see all the reports, the problem was not in the product itself. The problem was in the governance.
Oh.
Right. So when, like I said, when you work for big companies, governance is non-negotiable.
Yes.
Right. So you need to have all these parameters. Culture is non-negotiable. Right. So if you want to create a sustainable company, and that's our belief again. So if you want to create a sustainable product or company, you can't just focus on one parameter. because it's always a trade-off. And in order to think of all these parameters, someone has to think of it, and I think that is the most difficult or most complex thing that all the co-founders need to do. And because if we keep it as optional, we have seen a lot of I would say ups and downs in the history. We have a lot of examples. Baiju was just one example, but I think governance culture, we usually ignore that, and I had to bring all that in. So that was one of the biggest shift, because in corporate I had a limited job, although it was the responsibility was quite big, but it was not as big as, okay, you can't have you can't create your own policies, right?
And there
For
were
big
limited
companies.
opportunities.
Exactly. Although you don't like a policy, but you don't have that power because you are in a limited role,
Yes.
and only the HR can do it. Okay, so but here it's not like that, right? So that's, I would say, an advantage, but again a responsibility also, because you're the co-founder. People that who are going to work for you, they are going to be affected by that culture, by the way your company runs, right?
Yes.
If there's governance or not. So I believe that creativity is there in everyone, but can we foster that properly? And that's where I think we are trying to work on. And that was one of the biggest challenge that I would say, when you said I shifted from corporate to my own venture. So the shift was, how do I, so the learnings that I made in 10 years, not about technical stuff, but about governance, about this, about that, culture. How do I make sure that those pitfalls do not reflect in my own company's culture?
Oh.
So that was, I think, one of the biggest challenge for me, and we are still working on it.
Yes.
But let's see. But yeah, so complex, when you become a co-founder, when you run your own company, I would say the complex challenge, the first challenge that you face is you have to think of a lot of things which you otherwise could have just offloaded to other teams in corporate. Here you can't offload it to anyone.
Yes.
You are responsible for the entire thing. So yeah, so that's one of the things that I faced during the transition.
Okay. This is the great learning for us, like for our future entrepreneurs, I would say. So now let's start with the roots of your vision. How is the Bodhi Tree different from the traditional coaching model, and what makes it unique in the crowded edtech space?
Okay. Um
Because we know
yeah.
AI is definitely the one of the unique USPs of the Bodhi Tree. But
Correct.
apart from that, with that as well.
True. So our philosophy is that the current learning. So you guys are students, right? And I often see this, that we have a rote mode of teaching. So we have these lectures where the teachers will just talk. You guys listen. We can have interactions, but that is still one of the primary modes that we use, right? Even here, like you have
Yes.
teachers coming here. You guys are sitting here, and that is definitely there. But now let's talk about evaluations, right? So you get these assignments, and now the funny thing which is happening is, obviously all of you will use ChatGPT or let's say Perplexity or anything else for your assignments, and I don't mind that, we encourage that. But I don't mean that, okay, copying is the solution. What I see is, because we need to change the mode of evaluation, because if we still keep the original mode of evaluation, like, okay, writing an assignment, now we are not taking into consideration that AI is there.
Yes.
And that's the gap that we are trying to fill, because AI is there, everybody will use AI for sure, there is no doubt about it. Because in future, all of us are going to use AI the way we use .com, right? So .com bubble was there, .com service was there, and everybody think it's going to change the future. There were a lot of startups. Some of the startups tanked, some of the startups became very huge. But that digitization brought us that .com, I would say, way of working, I say, because we do everything online. We go to websites and we do stuff.
Yes.
Now. So the way of working has changed. Before that, so if you go back in the history, I would say, before industrialization, we used to do things physically. We needed physical labor, right? But then we replaced that with machines.
Yeah.
And now we used to do a lot of intellectual work, but that was again rote work. So in terms of teaching, I would say what we need for tomorrow are different skills, different teaching modes,
Yes.
different ways of teaching, different ways of evaluating. So the entire teaching process, one is, first, let's say a teacher or someone will impart knowledge to you, and then you understand, you comprehend that, and you get evaluated on it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the normal process of education. But how do we change each and every element of it? Because if we change just one element, we are still trying to patch the original model.
Yes.
So one of the examples, we are doing a lot of things. One of the examples I would say, is apart from AI teachers, there is a tool called, let's say, Enquiry Tree. So we have all these innovative tools, Enquiry Tree. So there is one more tool called Niti Niti. So what that tool does is it asks you a question and it will give you three answers and it will ask you, this is a wrong answer. And this is just an example. Niti Niti is not this, not that.
Okay.
So it's a Sanskrit word, but it means not this, not that. So negating the assumption is getting closer to the knowledge.
Oh.
Okay, so when you say 2 plus 2 is not 5, right? So it is not this, it is not this, and that's the method that we also use in science. First, you have a hypothesis. Hypothesis is proven or disproven. Right? So you also need to know if something is true, why is it true, and if something is wrong, why is it wrong, right? So that why, focus on that why is the fundamental learning in anything. Even let's say if you are interested in painting,
Yeah.
okay, or you are interested in and I'm not talking about maths and physics, okay, you are interested about writing or you are interested in some other thing, sports, you always keep wondering, right? Okay, how does the ball go like this, how do I spin it,
Yeah.
so you have all these questions. So in any topic you will have these questions, why, how. So if we could answer those questions, particular questions, according to you,
Okay.
and it is different for everyone, we can't put everyone in the same basket. So when I give lecture to hundreds of students, it's the same lecture going to each and everyone.
Yeah.
But that's not how it usually works because the audience is different. So that's what we're doing with AI. Hyper personalized learning is possible now. So I can give a same lecture, it will be different for you and different for him,
Oh.
because now I know your interests are different
Yeah.
than his. So the way I explain it to you, it will be very different from the way I explain it to him. So we will have that AI teacher or AI tool, but it will have very different lectures for different people based on their own inclinations. And that's something we were able to achieve through AI. Earlier it was very difficult because one teacher cannot just give one-on-one lectures to 100 people.
Yeah.
But now it is possible. Okay, so that's one thing I would say which is quite different that we are doing. And second is, like I said, rote mode, just lectures is not enough. Okay, you need to understand hows and why we're using different tools. And one of the best examples is recently Google released a game with Stanford. So they had a collaboration and it is AI awareness game. So
Okay.
Google thinks that the future is in gamification, the way we learn, because we all love games.
Yes.
And the core problem that we think which is there in education is engagement. Okay, so in rote learning, if I keep giving you lectures, you're going to get bored. Okay, after a while, and you see that like half of the students will be sleeping, half of the students will be distracted. So it happens. You can't do anything. But that's the core problem, right? But like Google also thought the same thing. We have been working on gamification for so long, so we are coming with our own Bodhiverse. So there are a lot of interesting stuff which we are coming up with. But we also believe that for engagement, right? So it can't be forced. It can't be imposed learning.
Yeah.
So games are never imposed. You play it because of your own interest. You like it. You like playing it, right? And I would say the product which engages you the most, apart from social media, is games,
Yeah.
right? So we are focusing on that because, like I said, Google just released that AI awareness game,
Yes.
and it's really good. And you can just play the game, and you will understand what AI actually is. And that's also our aim. So that's what we are doing, which is quite different. Because currently most of the tech platforms, they still have the same mode. Again, you will have mock tests, you will have questions, MCQ questions, and normal lectures.
Yes.
So we are not totally shifting from that, but I would say we are keeping it as 1.0, and then we are bringing a totally new set of educational philosophies and tools in 2.0.
2.2. So, Omkar sir, my next question to you is regarding an article that I came across a few days back in Business Standard. So, this article is by Vanita Kohli, now Khandekar. So, it has a very interesting point. It said AI actually feeds on human creativity because it learns from everything we produce. So, if everyone starts depending on AI and people stop creating original work, what will AI feed on them? So, my question to you actually is, if tomorrow AI reaches a point where creativity itself is at risk, what role do you think entrepreneurs should play in keeping human imagination alive?
Okay. So I think a really nice question, I would say. And so the article that you mentioned, so I haven't read that article, but I understand her point, and I think it's partially true. And so, but in order to understand what that is and what is creative, we have to clearly differentiate what AI is and what is creativity. So we'll just quickly go through that definition. So the current AI models, so just to give you a sense of what current AI models are and what humans are. So what we did is we started with an idea that how does our brain work? Let's understand that.
Yes.
So we have neurons in our brain. So there are around 86 billion, 90 billion neurons in our head, and these neurons keep firing all the time, and that's where the thoughts and ideas, and that's what we think that we are using our brain. When we say we are using our brain, what is happening inside is the neurons are getting fired. Okay, so that's the basic logic.
Yes.
So we tried to replicate that. So we had all these neurons and stuff, and we were like, okay, let's try to replicate that. And we did that. That's called neural networks. So that's the core of all the AI models. But our neural networks or our brain keeps on changing, right? So our brain, the way we used to think when we were 5 years old, was very different than the way we think now, right? So there are a lot of changes which have happened inside our brain. But the current AI models, what they do, and she's right in saying that these AI models are trained on human data. Okay, so let's take an example, GPT-5.
Yeah.
Okay, GPT-5 is trained on all the data which we created. Like, for example, it knows all the novels that
Yes.
all the writers throughout the history created. It knows all the knowledge which is there on internet. Right, so that knowledge was created by us initially, and now we are training those models to combine all that knowledge and have this big, I would say, a brain which knows everything.
Yes.
But the fundamental thing is once you train that model, because you just need to understand this point that it's called a black box model. No one knows how AI works, not even the founders.
Yeah.
Sam Altman doesn't know how GPT works. It works, but it is so huge that no one knows what is happening inside. Okay, so these are black box models. We call this black box models. And once you train those models, they're fixed.
Yes.
You can't change them again. And it's a funny fact that the money that we spent on, or Sam Altman spent on training GPT-4 was around $100 million. So just to train one model, we need $100 million, and we can't change the model now. So if we can, they are doing retraining and all, but that black box is fixed now.
Oh.
So we don't work like that, right? So because creativity comes from changing things, neural firal sequence, and these are fixed. So I would say, so we still have a huge gap between human brain and these AI models. Yes, they replicate the neural network, which we also have. But we are not only our neural network, so we are more than that, right? So that's not there in AI. And right now, we don't have a capacity where we can continuously feedback and retrain the model. Once we train it, it's fixed. Now we need to have new data set, train a different model. But we don't work like that. We understand something, our brain quickly changes.
Yes.
So it's a very live process. So we are not there yet that we keep training. These AI models also keep training themselves because it needs huge compute. And that's what all these big companies are going for. They are spending billions of dollars on training these huge models. But I still feel that, okay, whatever can be done rationally. So earlier what happened, AI models were there since 1950s. The concept was there since 1950s. And like I said, I also worked on neural networks in 2015 in my master's thesis. So neural networks have been there, but we had all these compute throughout the years, and because of digitization we had all this data, and that's why the result that you see in GPT-5, that's the result of all this data and all the compute. But the smartness of AI algorithms was established way before that. So when Google did experiments, when DeepMind, when the AI models played chess, AlphaGo, so that was human intelligence at its best, because chess has like millions of combinations, billions of combinations, and it's very hard to understand what will happen at each
Yes.
point. And AI model was able to do that, and it defeated grandmasters and stuff. So intellect was there, but it was specific, right? So you have this model, it was trained on how to play chess. So right now, all the LLMs that you see, they are trained on language, but we have five senses. We also take vision into account. Then we have this language, human language. So we need multiple things to exactly reach a level where human brain is. And that's where I say that, okay, they are good at bunch of stuff, but we don't, we are a coherent system.
Yeah.
So we still have a scope where we bring all these together. So let's say you have a vision model and you have a language model. So what do? We look at this plant, we say it's green.
Yeah.
So I first took an image of it, I interpreted it,
Yeah.
and then in natural language, I call this color green. So I just said it green. So there are three AI models working there. So you can replicate the flow. So it's not only one LLM. But again, creativity is not there because the model cannot keep on continuously changing itself. Once it is trained, it's sort of fixed. We don't work like that. So I don't know, maybe in 10 years we will have the compute and everything where AI models are also continuously changing their weights and all those things. But currently we have a lot of scope to fill that gap, because these are fixed models. They're good at different things. But when you create a product, you need, okay, best of this, best of this, best of this, best of this. So that, and we call this orchestration, the art of orchestration. So how do you bring different elements together? And let's say these are AI models. It's like Lego. You have all these Lego blocks.
Yeah.
But it is up to you how you arrange those Lego blocks and create a beautiful house. Right? So that is where human creativity lies. And AI is not able to do that. AI has not invented even all these big models, right? So they have not invented new original ideas even now. So we don't have that yet. You can just go to your house and then, looking at a ceiling, you can get a new idea, right? And it will be very novel, maybe bizarre, and then no one will believe it, but it will be a novel, great idea, right? And the best example of creativity that I give and is that there's a recent Netflix movie on Van Gogh. Do you know Van Gogh? He's a great painter,
Yeah.
right? One of the great painters, and his paintings are worth millions of dollars. So some of his paintings are, one painting is worth $400 million. So it's bigger than the companies themselves, right? So there's a dialogue in that movie where Van Gogh's friend asks him, "Why do you paint?" And he says, "I paint so that I stop thinking."
Oh.
So let's look at Van Gogh. If he stops thinking and if he paints and he's creating that beautiful painting, and AI is all about thinking. So if you stop thinking, how will you create that painting, right? So, and that's the paradox. AI can think, but Van Gogh said that without thinking, I created this painting. So creativity is not only rational thinking, which we do, it's something different more than that, I would say, and it has to do with consciousness and stuff. So what we believe is there are three phases. We have a body, we have a mind, and we have something called consciousness. So with machines, we have humanoid robots. What do? They do physical work for us. Go do laundry, stuff like that. So we are using all these humanoid robots for that. So we eliminated the physical aspect of our existence. Then we have AI models. So we are now slowly offloading our mental aspect to it. But we are still not our body and mind. We also have something called consciousness, and that is where creativity lies, I guess. And that's why I think unless AI models gain consciousness somehow, we will always be at the top. And we have a lot of scope for creativity, because at the end, and this is the point that everyone misses, whom are we creating AI for? For human beings, for ourselves.
Yes.
Right? So any product that you see, let it be any service like Swiggy, Ola, or let's say iPhone, the products and services are getting created for human beings, for us. So the AI is also getting created for us.
Technology is basically meant to be used.
Exactly, meant to be used. So you can create product for other human beings using AI, because AI itself is, the aim is not that, okay, it's an AI world and we human beings, we don't live here. AI is for us. AI is our servant in a way, right? And that's why we have humanoid robot doing our laundry. So AI is our servant, and we can use AI for bunch of stuff. And you get the time to actually work on your creativity, because earlier what used to happen, you have a creative idea, but you needed a bunch of people to prove that idea.
Yeah.
Let's say, and then there were these restrictions. Let's say you are a management student and you have this crazy idea about an app, and you think that, okay, this will solve some problem. But now, earlier, if you think about it, you would be like, okay, I have an idea, but I still need developers. I still need someone from engineering, and it seems like a lot of work. I need money to do that. But now you can just execute your ideas, right? So you don't need a software engineer. You can just type in natural language what you want, and you can create your own app and prove your idea.
Yeah.
So now I would say AI has enabled creative people. Okay, so and we need to explore creativity, because a lot of us, we are used to fixed paths, and at least in India, because if you see in India, MBA, engineering, these were the major fields. And if you look at creative people, nobody was going to at least a majority of the portion was inclined towards STEM fields. But even in STEM fields, we lack creativity now, right? So ChatGPT is an example of doing something creative in the technical field. So I believe that AI will enable you to do all the cross connection and jobs and just focus on, okay, what can you do creatively?
Oh.
So I would say that all the Gada Mazduri has been taken. In fact, we should be happy about it. Like, okay, now instead of spending 10 hours on something which, like which has no worth, like real sense, I can spend 10 hours on creative thinking and AI will do the job for me. So I
Yes.
think creative people are happy, and there's this divide in the, but creativity will never go, I think, and not at this stage. And looking at all the latest models, they're far away from, I would say, human creativity and human brain. Yes, they're better than doing a lot of things than most of the humans, but creativity is something totally different, I would say. And Van Gogh, the best example is,
Right.
I stop thinking, I switch off the AI, and creativity comes. That's a paradox.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a completely different perspective. Amazing perspective, in fact.
Thank
So my next question is, moving to your teaching philosophy. The Bodhi Tree emphasizes that courses start from fundamentals, so ensuring a strong foundation for everyone. How did you come to believe in this approach, and in what ways does this focus shape the AI-powered learning tools that you are developing?
Okay. Um, so I think earlier I was talking about everyone is different, right? Like someone, we if we say ki, if we look at just one parameter who is good at maths, you will see five people,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that others are not good at other things, right? Someone might be good at speaking, someone might be good at, making friends,
Yeah.
as simple as that. Someone might be good at, creating different dishes, let's say. So everyone has that creative side to them, right? And but what used to happen is that creative side was never explored in a way that it could give you money and stuff, because the jobs were not there and stuff. But because of that, what happened, everybody started following one path, and that's how the society, because see, if you are an engineer, we know that, okay, we have this saying that, okay, you will get a job, you will get a nice job. But if someone is an artist, he would probably struggle to get
Yeah.
money now. But what AI has done, I would say, and or I would say our core philosophy is, in your field of interest, you will always love to work in your field of interest, and you will always have this whys and hows. But because of some pressure, you are following a different path, you want to get a nice job, but you will always have that side. So, just to give you my own example, although I did my engineering in my childhood, I used to paint a lot.
Oh.
And then recently, I picked up painting again, because that side never went right. Although I went to IIT Madras and did all the engineering stuff, and I still do that, but that creative side is still there. And all of us, I think, have that creative side. If you just go back to your childhood days, you would find something that you loved, and
Yes.
like your parents just used to, like, okay, come home, it's 9 o'clock, and you're like, no, let me just do this or play with other kids. So everyone has that side. So what we believe is that, okay, let's take your topic and let's explore it further using whys and hows, and that is where the fundamental learning comes into the picture. That's what we focus on. So it's not only about, just to give you a quick example, it's not about doing quick math. It is about understanding what is maths. Because when we switch to calculators, we stop doing maths on paper, and now we have AI. That doesn't mean that we don't need to learn anything, but we need to understand what maths is. That's it.
Ah.
So you don't need to solve equations now. AI will do it for you, but you need to understand what all parameters are there, what is happening. So, and that is where fundamental learning comes into the picture. Because right now, what we see, okay, if I have a maths course, I will give you everything about maths. So we have a lot of courses. We have a new course which is coming on, which is called Systems Thinking. Then we have a new course which is called Philosophy of Technology. We have two more courses coming up next year, which are called Philosophy of Maths and Philosophy of Science. So what our aim is, we just want you to understand the whats and hows. Maths is also interesting, and you don't need to get into the technical stuff of maths. But what is maths really?
The foundation, the
Exactly,
concepts.
foundation. So, and because all the creativity comes from that foundation,
Yes.
and that is our belief. And like I said, we all have creative side, but I believe that the current education system lacks tools and ways to explore that creativity. And because of AI, it is possible now. We just need to bridge these two gaps. And whatever subject you like, you can just, follow that path, your own path, with your own interest. Nothing will feel imposed. And then you don't need to worry about success, because if you like something that you do and if you are dedicated, you will probably, you don't need to worry about jobs and stuff. You will do
Yes.
something. So that's our main philosophy. And you should enjoy learning.
Yes.
So that's fundamentally different. And when you understand, because as kids, all of us might have asked this question, why is sky blue? right? So, but nobody gave us the answer. Ki, why is it blue? Because nobody knew. Because we did not know astrophysics, right? Our parents did not know astrophysics. But that doesn't mean ki we were not curious.
Yes.
So we just need to bring in that curiosity back. And now, like you said, AI is there. And if AI is there to help you, maybe in your exam studies and stuff, now you can do it faster. Now you just go take that question back which you had in your childhood. Now AI will give you an entire theory on it, and you will quickly understand why is it blue.
Yes.
So I think the foundation has to come back because it is there in all of us, but we need to align it because we have the super intelligence. Earlier, your parents were not capable of giving that answer, but now we have AI and it can give you that answer very nicely. But we need to come back to asking foundational questions, and that is where we are coming up with, I would say, futuristic courses which focus solely on foundation rather than the rote stuff like how to solve equations and stuff. Rather, understand philosophy of maths, and that is enough. So,
That sounds really interesting, sir. So, if you could just give a piece of advice to your younger self starting, and what would it be?
uh, so like I said, looking back, though I'm actually I don't have any regrets in life. So I
Oh,
live. I usually do what I want. But I would say that looking at today's age, I would say that I should have gotten into my art side more often, because right now I can see that it's good that I'm not only interested in engineering, but I have this creative side, but I did not explore it much when I was working for big corporates, and then you get busy with a lot of stuff, doing a lot of projects. So I always ignored that, and I feel that maybe I could have given a little more thought to it, and then because that would pay out in AI world, I would say, because that would pay out big in the AI world. And for all of you also, if you have something like that, just preserve that and keep continue doing that because that will pay out in the future in AI world. That is for sure.
like Steve Jobs also said, ki, whatever you learn in life, that is useful somewhere in the life.
Exactly,
You
exactly,
would never know where it, but it
exactly.
is there.
You maybe all the pieces of the puzzle are not clear to you right now, but that doesn't mean that those pieces are not required.
Yes.
So once you have enough pieces, then you can see the bigger picture. Okay, and that is where we look at things in fragments. But creativity, like I said, it's a big part of it, and yeah. So that's what I say. Ki I should have probably gotten into painting and writing way back, but I don't regret that in a particular sense. But even now, with AI, I can make up for the lost time. So I'm writing a book which is getting written very fast with so yeah.
Greatly answered, sir. So, my last question for you is that many students dream of starting their own venture, but they hesitate because of fear or uncertainty. So, what advice would you give to these students, these future
Okay,
entrepreneurs?
so I was just say we have to understand what is fear, right? So the belief, if you go to so I read a lot of philosophy. So if you go to philosophical texts, also Greek philosophy, Indian philosophy, you will see that fear comes out of, so when there is lack of knowledge, you have fear. So, and the best example would be, let's say you are going into dark and you don't know what is there in the dark. So you're always afraid, oh, maybe the snake will come out in the jungle, something will happen. But if I tell you that, okay, I have scanned this jungle and here's the data, and I can tell you with assurance, with 100% certainty, with 100% knowledge that there is no danger inside. Once you have that knowledge, you will be less fearful. You'll be like, okay, now I know something at least, so I can go get into the jungle. So fear comes out of not knowing. So I would say that to all of you, there is a thing which is going to happen, and like I said, the today's age, what we called is intelligence explosion. So we have this raw intelligence available to all of us through API calls, like quickly. So what is going to happen in order to be an entrepreneur? Like I said, one of my biggest I would say transition elements was that I had to think of each and everything. So let's say you want to talk about the HR department. What kind of policies are there? Now you can talk. Earlier you had to get into the policies, understand everything. Now you, with help of AI, you can understand HR policies and governance and finance and engineering very quickly. You don't need to do that, but you can just understand how these things work together, right? So I would say in that sense, all of you. must be focusing on multiple aspects, and a lot of physicists and mathematicians are saying that as an advice to younger generation, to you guys, that get good at a bunch of things. And this is the era of something that we called polymath. So earlier, what was there? Okay, he's a software engineer. He's expert in backend development. He's an entrepreneur. He's good at making money. So that era is slowly going, and that was, I would say, that was an era where we had all these specialists, right? So his specialty is in engineering, his specialty is in marketing, stuff like that. But now, in the age of AI, you need to know about each and everything. So you need to know about marketing also, you need to know about this also, you need to know about that also. And with AI, it is possible very easily. And AI can, like I said, AI can very easily explain it to you and in innovative ways that you understand very quickly. You don't need to go and take notes. You just talk to it and you will understand. So that power is there. But once you do that, once you understand different aspects, you can become an entrepreneur. But the only suggestion I would say that do not ignore things that we as humanity have learned throughout the years. So we have failed at a lot of experiments. We have failed at creating factories. We have failed at creating online empires. We have failed at everything. So learn through those mistakes. And one of the best examples in software industry that I usually give in talks is when the dot-com bubble came, a lot of companies shifted to online trading. Okay, so there is a company called, I think I'm forgetting the name, Knight Capital. So what they did, their software engineers, they were working on the update, and by mistake they did not do much of testing, and they did not do much of version control. There is something called, okay, when this is version 1 product, then you have version 2 product. So these two things got mixed in the launch, and within 2 hours, because it's a trading platform, they lost $500 million. So from that mistake, software industry woke up and they are like, no, we need to have strict testing norms. So that's how we learn from our mistakes, right? So we just need to learn from our mistakes. And you look at all the history, all the corporate, you see, like the example that you gave, Steve Jobs. So what he did, he just considered all the parameters. So now Apple, they launch late products. Some people say that, okay, Apple did not come with many features, they just changed this and launched iPhone 16 or 17. But no, but they take time, they look at all the aspects. And I have a few friends at Apple, so their design team will think of how the UI should be and what colors can we mix, so everything in detail. So that's what I would say. And multiple aspects. When we look at 4 aspects, leave the remaining, the startup will have fallout somewhere. Yeah. And so I would say become a polymath. Get good at bunch of stuff. Like, okay, I am a software engineer. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't know philosophy or history. Learn it. So that's the only advice I would give.
So what I learned through this is that instead of focusing on one thing or having a more knowledge, deep knowledge of one thing, you should have a little knowledge of everything.
And get an overview first.
Yes.
See, detailed knowledge is different. When you want to work on maths, hardcore mathematical problems, then you need to know each and every step. Yes. But now you just need to know what is this thing called maths.
Yes.
Right? As a story, as an overview. So once you know what it does, what are its capabilities, as a story, you need to look at these parameters as, okay, what is art? What is writing? So all these things, at least you can understand all these aspects, and then you will get very creative ideas. How do I combine these aspects? And that's what's happening with AGI. So all these AI companies are racing to AGI. So AGI by definition is intelligence which is bigger than all human intelligence combined. And people say that it might come in 2030. And that's what they do. Okay? You can combine art and engineering. So if we take some big examples, Einstein used to say that for me, physics and he used to play violin. So he said physics and violin are equally important to me, and I feel that physics and violin are the same thing. So he was one of the greatest physicists, but he was a very passionate, I would say, musician. So you see that across history, and like I said, now you can do things. Earlier it was very difficult. Now, if you have a creative side, just explore. Yes. Go to, let's say, Genie 3 and see if you can create some nice art using prompts, right? So, and maybe you will explore something. So it's time to explore, I would say, because we are in the phase that we call AI integration phase. So AI has come, but it has to be integrated properly into the society. And while integrating that, you need to explore what AI can do, what creative side you can explore with AI. So the only thing I would say that go and take experience of bunch of AIs, not only LLMs for your assignments, but try visual models, try image generation models. Maybe you will find that okay, I had this creative side that I never thought of, and just try bunch of things now. I don't say that you have to like each and everything,
Yes.
but I say that try it out. Earlier, it was very difficult to try everything out. If you are doing MBA, it was very difficult to try engineering at the same time. But now you can at least try it and get a flavor of it. So you
Yes.
just do that. And all of you, all the young generation, I think they should get on AI and you should know about each and every tool which comes up in the news. And you should be the first guys to go and try it out. So that's the only advice I would give. And I think if you do that, I think we will have a lot of creative work to do in future. And in fact, I am very optimistic about the future because I think we will be very happy. We are usually happy doing creative things rather than doing, gada mazduri.
Yeah.
So if we could just tap that, we will be very happy working in future, I think. And yeah, so become a polymath.
Thank you for your advice, sir.
Thank-
So, Omkar, sir, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey and perspectives with us. I'm sure our listeners, especially those dreaming of starting something new, will walk away inspired and motivated. So, and to our audience, thank you for joining us. This is Swarup Bibbe signing off from the Budding Entrepreneurs Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.